2025. Please stand and join me for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Whoops, we're doing echo. Oh, and Jamie's here. Hi, Jamie. Just all right. We'll begin with roll call.
Mr. Arnold?
Here.
Ms. Leonardi?
Here.
Ms. Orme? Here. Vice President Pagnotta?
Here.
Ms. Paris? Here. Mr. Wilson? Here. And Borough Council President Wright?
Here.
And Youth Representative Go Brown?
Here.
Okay, great. Thank you. Scott, Mr. Fody is away this week, and Phyllis is happily filling in for him, for us. And we're going to start with our correspondence. We had in our packets a letter from Brian Weissman, who's campaigning for Allegheny County Sheriff, and I'm just pointing out that it was in your packet. He just forwarded it on because it was sent to us. There was also a correspondence requesting clarification regarding basically the culling of the deer. And I don't know if Deb, if you want to speak to that at all.
Well, I'm glad somebody pointed out the confusion that they were having with the question. We can, I don't know if at this point we can go in and review that question so it's clearer. So that it's clear to folks who are participating in the survey that we are not going to have hunters at Creekside or Riverside or any of those parks. And of course, it would be professional hunters, people who would understand the risks involved in suburban whitetail hunting. They would not take any unnecessary risks. They would do what is right to protect lives and property.
I had a thought that if we wanted to, we could put on our website, or Scott could send a text or however you think it would be best, just to say there's been a question about this. The question of culling would be ABC, right? They would just be there, and if somebody had a question, it would come up when they started to research on the website.
I think maybe you should make it clear that any hunting in the borough would be bow and arrow.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean.
People shouldn't get discharged.
Just kind of clarify how this is handled in other communities.
Could we give the name of the company that Chief Ford told us about?
I wouldn't endorse anybody.
Well, or a few names.
I would leave it, as John said, archery hunting only through a certified.
At very distinct sites with supervision, kind of let people know we're not talking about there's going to be guys wandering around your backyard with a arrow.
Just in my neighbors.
Right. So okay. So if Deb, if you and Amanda can kind of talk about that maybe and see what you think.
I do hesitate to change the survey.
No,
if you change the wording of it, it kind of messes with
I don't want to change the survey.
But when we close the survey to put out we're going to be looking, but here's a quick clarification. I think that might be more appropriate.
Okay.
I mean, we can put something out in the meantime, but I don't know if that's going to change people's answers. If you just want to let it open to interpretation for now, but then when we close it, clarify.
I think a lot of people already have. I actually think a lot of people have a pretty good sense of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Just from other communities.
Yeah.
And how
Right.
Yeah. I agree.
But okay, good. We have our minutes for the July 15th regular meeting. If you have any questions or changes, comments, either tell us now or tell Scott, and we'll make those adjustments, and we'll then approve them at our next meeting. Appointed boards. Phyllis, you're our new Scott for tonight. So do you want to start going down through that section?
Sure, Sean, can you expand on the LED light repairs and a handrail replacement?
So lighting project, actually, as of 6 or 7 hours ago this afternoon, we met with the supplier for the lights, gas lamp. They brought some replacement bulbs, a handful of current former members of the board committee were there, so try some investigation into why the bulbs continue to burn out. The supplier did give us bulbs to switch them. I'm gonna look and see if there's another root cause of why so many are burning out. And there is one fixture, it's number 46. So they're numbered 1 to 49, starting at college. So 46 is the third one from the end of all. It's out, disconnected, and is shorted into the contractor, LED City Electric. So, some progress there. Unfortunately, not a definitive answer on why the bulbs keep burning out. Between Borough committee and the supplier came up with some next steps here to try to get it.
Because I don't remember the specifics, but weren't they anticipating that these light bulbs would work for 10 years or some pretty long period of time?
Yeah, so the number we talked about today was that the bulbs were rated effectively, if they were on around the clock, they last for 3 years. So they're on overnight, so 5, 6 years on and off, it would be the expectation. Obviously, I think the number that's been replaced so far, 42 that are out right now, there's around 27 that were already replaced. So with 60 bulbs out in round figures in a year and a half. So something going on there.
And they're expensive.
Yes, yeah. Well, two things, an expense and then also an inconvenience. We don't want to be replacing 49 times 298 bulbs every year.
Right.
So looking.
Okay, great.
Yeah, the railing, Jess probably better to provide an update on that project.
Yes, so they're slowly moving down ARB. They're on the flat part right now. They had to move the irrigation system off, so they were waiting for that, but that's now been removed, so they're starting to go down that way. And then also Ann Street, the wrong railings were delivered, but the manufacturer has already been told and they're on their way. So
We did take a look at completed work today. A couple members of the board committee there, a few preliminary punches, such a contractors.
This is not really in your report and not really on topic here exactly. But Ann Street, the railroad line that goes down Ann Street,
Yes.
that just is rails with just nothing else. Is there any plan for that? Or it just is what it is right now?
Very,
Okay,
I don't know. Nobody uses it.
they don't use it down, the Chelsea Grill does, or Chelsea building? They still use it?
Thought it was, yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we can just put it on our back list of something to check. I've thought of asking you so many times and then I only think of it
Okay.
at the wrong time.
Yeah, as best as I can, it was frequent, but I thought it was still active for that many times.
Because it, to me, looks dangerous. Is anybody on a bicycle?
I can tell you that's all the railroad's responsibility.
Okay,
That falls under them when they maintain all crossings. That's one of their crossings. I'm not
all right.
gonna deal with that.
So it's them. So if we did anything, we would just sort of,
We asked them
Right.
about crossings one year and I said that's all they need. But they physically get out, they from the road when you cross.
okay, I just wondered. Okay, thanks. Go on, tell us you're good.
And next we have a report from the communications committee. We created an application to go out to solicit people that specifically have a background in either writing or film editing. So we're gonna be looking to add hopefully 2 people, and I sent it to Scott for approval and it looks like we're good, so it's just a matter of sending it out to communications.
These are volunteers.
Volunteers, yeah.
And now we will have the Dark Colored Woods Director's Report. And in your packet is a flora and fauna report that our herpetologist, Ewan Brooks, has created. He goes out to study the quality of water through amphibians that he's finding there. He's found salamanders, cockroaches that date back to 50 million years. And he found a box turtle and did some eDNA samples which showed signs of an ostrich in Dark Hollywood.
Alright.
It's your average thing.
What Ewan is doing is very foreign to me, but he is a scientist and he's really involved in making sure that the quality of the water within the woods is evidenced by what he's finding, the creatures that he's finding there. And we are going to put his report into the newsletter. It's 3 pages long, so we have to separate it into different sections. So every month it'll be continued until the entire report is there. If you have any questions, I would urge you to reach out to him directly. There's something else he's doing too. He has placed bat boxes and trees in the woods to study the species of bats that he's catching for a reason. But again, what he's doing is way outside of the scope of work that I'm used to. So I would encourage you to reach out to him. He's very nice. In his report, he says, if you see a bearded man walking around in shorts in Dark Hollywood, come up and say hello.
Yeah. What's the funding for that?
He's a volunteer.
Just on his own.
Mm-hmm. So he's one of the stewards of Dark Hollywood Woods. We have the library, which has just been added. Ewan is one of the stewards. We have the educational outreach as a steward, and tour guides, photographers, archivists. So he falls under the volunteer for Dark Hollywoods. I just checked with Scott to find out what's going on with the television screens blacking out. He said it's probably time for an upgrade. But that's all for the director's report, and now we'll have the report for the library board.
And that was, in your, the library board meeting minutes are there, and the library director's report. As you can see, they've been making progress on the evaluation of the building and the long-term repairs that are going to be needed. And she's suggesting a meeting, let me see if I can find the date here, that before our next council meeting, that we would have a pre-meeting to discuss kind of where they are on the renovation of their building. And then there will be a general public meeting, probably at the library some evening, and have a presentation of the ideas that are being presented by the designer. And but she wanted to take the opportunity to kind of bring us up to date before we bring the whole community up to date, and you can raise questions, and then that will also help in the presentation once we go to the whole community. So that's her idea, and I think it was before our work session next month. This was her recommendation. Is that what you remember to remember?
Before the next meeting, yes, you are correct.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. You know, like maybe we'd start at 6:30 instead of 7 o'clock and just give her a chance to bring us up to date. And they've been reviewing their finances and keeping up with their foundation. And so all's good at the library from everything I could read. Recreation board. John, do you want to talk a little bit about Chateau Rouge since we're on rec board?
Actually, just take that over.
So we had our pre-construction meeting on July 23rd. They did remove the large tree on the site, and they are scheduled to start, construction on Monday.
Oh, good,
Awesome.
good. And the neighbors have, I understand the neighbors have been told this is happening. And, to the dog park. So that's good. And then, did they say 2 weeks, 3 weeks? How about, no, that's not right. Never mind. How long did they say this would take?
It'll be a couple of months.
A couple
Yeah,
months.
probably 2 months.
Okay. Yeah, 2 weeks is a little quick.
Be nice.
Do something. I must do something. Excellent.
Will the, will the water authority be doing their work in that, or is that just a plan?
Their connection under the river.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be separate. And in fact, wouldn't really disrupt anything we do with the service. They do that, no directional control, so, their impact us would just be.
And are we installing a water line in there?
Yeah, so there'll be a water service, for a yard height at the,
We need water and fish dogs. Thanks, good. That's nice. I mean, it's been a long time coming and we're finally there.
yes, see some activity there.
The rec board did not meet in August, but, oh, in July, oh, okay, July, right. And everybody's probably aware that there's been some questions about the playing field, the football field and the edge of the baseball fields and stuff. Following the open, the USGA has been repairing it, and the school director and the athletic director and the booster club and everybody's all involved in this and all up to date on a very regular basis of how this is progressing. They had trouble because they originally had put down, everybody knows the weather we experienced during the open was extreme. So they initially tried to seed the damaged areas, and that just, then we had like too much rain and then too much heat and then not enough rain. So they then switched and did an enormous amount of sod. I think it might be, I think he said 1.5 acres or something of sod has been laid. And so they're working on, USGA provided irrigation hoses, and John Gentile has been working overtime and weekends and things to keep this watered, all the time to try to get this sod to really take hold and grow. So we have the experts in the world on lawn service. So we have the best people we could have. And so we're hoping it will all be ready in time for the football season to start.
We put something, let's get back to the communications committee, I guess. Can we put something on our website to explain that the money that the USGA, well, people donated to the borough is not associated with the repairs of the damage they caused? There seems to be some, because of that article or that television thing, there seems to be some misapprehension as to, some people are sort of assuming that the money that the golf association gave the borough was to do the repairs, when in fact, they have an obligation to do those repairs in addition to that.
Yeah, that was a contract. They rented the field from us for $20,000 for the 2 weeks or so of the open. And part of that contract stated that they would then repair it and bring it back up to its appropriate condition immediately following. And they had done that. Well, that wasn't a donation. That was a contract. That was they were actually paying us rent.
I know.
But you're talking about then they made a donation to us, to Plum, to the city, to the county, and that is totally separate.
But yeah, neither of those, well, both of those were in addition to their obligation to do the repairs.
Yeah.
That's what
A
I'd
gift,
like,
they made a gift in addition to the, yeah.
and that's what I'd like people
Email Scott.
to know, because, well,
Yeah.
his letter sort of corrected it, but there's that misapprehension out there because of that
Yeah,
erroneous
That's good.
television.
yeah.
And they didn't give us money to fix the field, they
Fixed.
fixed
Right.
it, there was no money
Right.
exchange
No
for
money
that, and you're
exchange.
correct,
They-
John, people
yeah.
think that we pocketed the money
Yeah.
that they had given
Right,
us.
yeah.
Went to Scott's Swiss account.
So Amanda, you're making a
I'm
note.
just emailing, so Scott has it in his email, he gives me the wording, because I'm not the one that
Right.
writes the wording, so he
Right.
gives me the wording that.
Okay, perfect.
And on the other hand, Nancy, I mean, I've heard a lot of people in the community say it's the best the field's looked in a long time.
It's the what?
The best the field's looked in a
Oh.
long time, especially the baseball part of the
Well, the
field.
baseball is a totally separate thing.
Yeah.
That we actually contracted for and we paid for, the borough paid for.
Yeah.
And that has been, it's supposed to be, and looks like it is gonna be a big improvement to the baseball field.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do wanna say that there are members of the community that say
So we
the
can,
ball
yeah.
area looks the best.
So we can clarify both of those, but might as well, get it out there in the world. Okay. Sean, your turn,
Yes, thank you.
or Jess, I don't know whose turn it is.
I'll talk for a little while. Okay, so looking at the memo from last week from 31st. Big updates of significance, so item number 2, 2024 Brick Road Road repair. Later on the agenda, then carry over to your voting meeting or closeout documents there, final payment, and final change order to justify. So, one spot that is being repaired, and we will have that final closeout. Chateau Beach Dog Park we talked about. ARV railing we spoke about as well. Item 6 on page 3, so Dark Hollow Woods Trail stormwater improvements. This was the stormwater improvements behind the fairways there, the trail. Received some GEDTF funding, so this is a COG bid. There weren't any planned orders at first. This was supposed to open last week. The original date was the 31st. No plan orders, so it was moved next week to the 13th. We do have plan orders now for our potential bidders, so look forward with opening. We'll have results for you for the voting meeting. Middle of the month. Again, this will be the COGS contract.
So we'll be able to assign the contract at the next meeting.
You may, yeah, if you wish to. Obviously, I know it's not going to follow the normal system of coming workshop first, and you'll have results for next week. I guess it's 2 weeks now. If it's open next week, you'll have results for your meeting in 2 weeks. It's later in the agenda or in the memo, but we'll talk about it. The same scenario for third and home improvements. We had been waiting, they're gonna feed a little bit to wait for HOP to be issued. So we needed 2 permits from PennDOT, a traffic signal permit, and a highway occupancy permit. Traffic signal permit is issued. HOP, last comments were minor. We don't anticipate there's gonna be big changes, so talk to Scott, it's out to bid. We are going to open it next week. Didn't want to wait another month. We're hopeful the permit will be issued, but I think we're going to open it either way. So same thing, if council would like to, you'll have that to act on at the mid-month meeting. But we didn't want to push everything to September here waiting for the permit. Items, back to the order, items 9 and 10. So these were Boney construction projects. Comments 13th Street is complete. I think that one, actually that one was closed out last month. Got the rest final payment. Number 10, the fire department, police station, sidewalk out here. That one will be on the agenda in a couple of weeks for closeout. Same that for you later in the agenda. Final change order, adjusting final quantities, and then final. We did have a walkthrough with the fire department, fire chief. Everything is not the case for coming in. that went out. 13, 13, we talked about. Item 16 is road program for this year. I do see it under Public Works, update later here. We had pre-construction meeting with Lino last week before maybe. They gave us a schedule of late August. I actually think that that's more realistically going to be early September. They're working on Allegheny River Boulevard project for PennDOT, for the boroughs of Borough towards the city. They have storm sewer work to do as part of that, and that crew has been moving the borough project. So, guess is probably 3 weeks plus or minus of storm sewer work on Washington, and then they'll mill and pave in a few days, less than a week, probably 3 or 4 days.
Item F4 says that they're gonna start third week in August, is that?
Correct. So that's what they, when we had a pre-construction with 2 weeks ago, that was their hope. I think practically, I would be very surprised if they were there. It's the first week of August. We know that they told us they're still finishing the PennDOT project, so I think the practical schedule is the beginning of September.
And since that will be drainage work starting, when will they actually, when do you think they'd actually start paving?
So I think 3 weeks, give or take, of storm sewer work, and then be less than 3 or 4 days of paving, if that long. So that would be end of September, beginning of October. Again, depending on what's their schedule, that kind of thing. Contract started, that pre-construction meeting.
I know, I'm sure all of us probably have gotten questions from people about why Washington is in such bad shape and why aren't we patching it? And we are patching it, but the patch won't stick. It's something that I don't really know the engineering of it, but that the brick is too close to the asphalt or.
Patch isn't great for steep roads there. So I think that, I mean, you can definitively say that here, late summer, it's going to be.
It will be done, yes. We just have to wait a month and then it'll,
We
more or
have
less.
so much control to dictate a contractor schedule. It will be here, engaged, supported.
Right. It's just a-
I may be wrong, but I think one of the problems with the patches is if you go up, if you traverse Washington, you notice that most of the potholes are really on the uphill lane. And I think that the cars, starting and stopping, the tire friction on the patches is sort of tearing them up almost as soon as they're put down.
Yeah, from a cold patch perspective, it's really not a sustainable solution. If you weren't going to repave it, the patch would be hot mix. It binder asphalt plant. That's a lot of investment for 45 days worth of life. I know it's a difficult response to issue, but those are the facts. Here, it's going to be addressed as soon as they'll do the trail portions of the project at Riverside Park, between River's Edge and Edgewater after that.
So once Washington's done, then they'll move down there.
Yes,
Okay.
that's their intent of these trails like that. Again, same thing, that'll be a couple of pieces. So that is roads. Last big update then is number 19. So we working with the Parks and Rec Committee for use of the LSA funding, and we got for playground improvements at Riverside Park. So two things going on now. We solicited requests for proposals, CoStar's pricing, so no public bid for playground upgrades. The Parks and Rec Committee has discussions scheduled with what they believe to be the preferred vendor. Talked through their proposal, had that refined, and that's going to come to council then at your September meetings for discussion and hopefully authorization. Concurrent with that, we're preparing bid documents for the other part of the project. It's the entryway update at the corner. The basketball court is diagonal for the bakery next to the school there. Brick pillars, fence, fence a little way down the side parallel to the school. So that's the other part of the grant. That we can't do through CoStar. That's going to be an advertised public bid. That'll be out to bid.
So that's why we're not going, okay, this is a CoStar, okay.
Yes, the playground stuff was CoStar's. We didn't have to advertise. We can negotiate and have some back and forth with this preferred bid. So I would say that at your September Senate meeting, we'll have some decisions to make there from playground perspective, from action perspective, of what we're seeing with that grant funding. In all likelihood, going to spill over in the spring, especially if we choose board in place playground surface. It's very, very weather temperature dependent. So it's probably a spring completion there. But you're talking to the rec committee seems to work out. So we teed up, do the work during the winter when a lot of people aren't using it, and then have it open for spring. That's the project updates. We did have conversation with the developer at River's Edge. Remember they had a simple subdivision plan a month or so ago. Talked about that. That fell into a conversation about dedication of public infrastructure there. So they're doing some work to get ready. We got those together and trying to march towards getting stuff ready for other you guys can consider taking the roads, sewers, lights, trees.
When do they think? When are they thinking that's going to happen? Okay.
I mean, if I were them, I think I would have tried to have done it a year ago, 2 years ago, but they're working on the upfront stuff. I would say at best, you're taking acceptance of them like as winter approaches here, October, November, a ways to go. But it's really dependent on, I would think that they would want to get this taken care of before another winter season. So that their public roads, take care of the plan and that. But optimistically.
What sort of inspection will you and the borough be doing prior to the turnover?
Yes, so the process, big picture is, they'll submit as-built plans, show us where all the sewers are, and obviously the roads are. We'll do a field walkthrough of the roads, literally walk the roads, mark if there's any bad areas that need fixed, curb that needs fixed, we look at all the inlets, the inverts in them, or the pipes barged around, the brick rides, they fall out. So all the inlets will get looked in. We'll walk this sewer system as well, sanitary sewer system, we'll open all the lids on the sewer manholes, take a look through there. We have the developer televise the sewers, see, make sure that fluidity, that kind of thing. So it's a relatively elaborate process to make sure we're taking over, like new condition infrastructure.
Any of that address, they've come to us, remember, we met with them concerning some homeowner concerns about flood control along Plum Creek.
So that's a separate parallel to the FEMA.
Yeah, I don't think we've heard anything recently about that.
Well, part of that conversation, it turned into a bunch of stuff. We did gather some more information from them, working through vetting that. We need some that is progressing.
And I don't know if anybody happened to drive by and notice that Oakmont Place at 11th Street in Halton, that they were working on the
Rain garden.
rain garden.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's good.
Yes.
That's been an ongoing question.
It was a positive text I received from Scott. He said they're working.
Right. Yeah. So, anything else on your report?
No, unless there's questions of
Anybody?
either of us.
Yeah. Any questions for Jess or Sean?
I just have one sinkhole
Yes.
and where we are with that.
So digging in a little bit, we're trying to.
Wait, you're talking about the sinkhole here on,
Right here.
on Fifth.
Oh, right here. Oh, I thought you meant the one on college. College for digging in.
walked up here today, that's.
This
Say that's not
one
his
would
purview.
have to be a middle.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this.
What did you say? What?
This one I'm not familiar with. I haven't really had any conversations with Scott, staff, otherwise.
I think
It has to deal with the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, sewer issue.
it's a single.
Joe Rakowski is working together.
Just take care of it. Okay, yeah, fortunately,
You're saying cone on Fifth is what? It's a collapsed line?
Something with the sewer lateral that's running down the middle of the road that have something to do with the wastewater treatment plant that Joe need to orchestrate the resolution on how to fix it.
And the homeowner, the building owners, they're aware, involved. That's about as much of the engineering as I know about that. So,
It does generate quite a few questions.
yes, it tends to get questions. So any other questions for Sean? No?
I have a question on that, like I say, as you brought up last week. Is it something that feasible, Sean, if it's going to be a while, if this ends up a lateral issue with parties that somehow blame each other with laterals and sewers? That's something we could rent 2 plates for, to plate that so we could get the road open more or less without creating, if this is going to be drawn out, is that something you think would be safe to plate? I know you can't answer without looking at it, but
yeah, I would say
with an inspection,
there's a credit there probably, but again, we'd have to look at it. But conceptually, yes.
I thought Scott said he was looking into that last meeting that we brought it up, but.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Still, because like, you did answer my question about the fire trucks, and said, yeah, no, so that's like a really around the wall.
Well, you can't put 2 cars down there, but we have to stop because of the pillars.
Is it this block of
It's right down there, yeah.
I came this way.
Yeah, right, right.
All right.
There's a
Take a look.
cone,
Yeah.
All right.
cone in the middle.
All right. I used to come in this way. So, take a look. Thank you.
And now for the solicitor's report.
Thank you. Earlier today, I emailed you a draft emergency shelter facilities license agreement. I think it was omitted from this month's packet. So essentially, Isaiah brought this to my attention. What this is a draft license agreement with Riverview School District. And it simply provides that in the event of a disaster emergency, the borough can use the junior, senior high school as a temporary shelter. So I just wanted to send it off to council for your review. Any questions, concerns, suggestions, I'm happy to incorporate. Once all the council is in agreement on the language, we can then send it down to the school district for their feedback and comment as well. It's my understanding that, Isaiah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was at least at one point an understanding that the borough could use the school district as a shelter, and then in the aftermath of all of the severe weather events of April and early May, Isaiah, you had a conversation with the school district, and they said they wanted a written agreement.
Yeah, so we had an oral agreement that we could do this. And then whenever it came time to cash in on that, they said, well, make sure I'm making paper, so no, you can't use this.
So this is the paper. So really just to quickly walk walk through it. Basically what this does is it grants the borough, its agents, representatives, employees, officers, whomever, a temporary non-exclusive license, which just essentially allows the borough and its representatives to enter the junior senior high school and use it as a temporary shelter for borough residents and visitors. It also provides that the license will commence upon the occurrence of a disaster emergency, which means that the borough obviously can't just walk down there on any given day and say we want to put people up. It also clarifies that in the event of a disaster, that the control of the premises will be vested in the borough's emergency management coordinator, the manager, and or the chief of police. So that way, the borough is the one who's actually operating it. It has notice requirements to the extent applicable. You know, if we know that severe weather is going to hit day 4, you know, it talks about having the borough reach out to the appropriate parties at the school district to provide notice. If severe weather happens without much notice, as it often does, the borough just has to notify the school district as soon as reasonably possible. And also, I would note that the borough is taking the property as is. There's no representations from the school district as to the condition of the property. Also talks about the borough will reimburse the district for any damages that occurred and any necessary cleaning. I think that's only fair that if the borough wants to use it as a shelter, the borough will reimburse the district for any harm suffered to it. And it just talks about really both sides. You know, this doesn't create any relationship between the parties except for that of licensor and licensee. There's no cross-contamination of employees or anything, if you will. I have the term of the agreement commencing on the date that it's executed and expiring on December 31st, 2035. So a 10-year agreement. So.
Two questions. One is, I presume if it's being used as an emergency shelter, that school's out or something. So you don't have school and shelter at the same time.
Well, I mean,
which seems to me would present some problems like child clearances and stuff.
well,
And the other question is, who actually makes that determination that we have an emergency of a magnitude, such a magnitude that we would actually use the school?
So with respect to your first question, you know, disasters can happen at any time. So it might not be as neat as, you know, oftentimes this past year, it seems like at 5 o'clock on the dot, that's when the severe weather would hit. But it can happen at any time. With respect to the clearances, I don't think that you would need the clearances because the students are not really within the purview of the borough in this one. So it's not like you're hiring students or something like that that would.
I think he needs like.
I think you're mixing people without child clearances with children.
So they
Well, in theory, so in school districts, they have what's called flexible instruction days. If there was some sort of disaster in town, likely, I would assume that the district would move it to a flexible.
That's also something we might just have to take to the district to see how they, you know, I'm not an expert when it comes to the public school code and all the clearances. That's a consideration that we can confer with the school district. With respect to your second question as to who deems it a disaster emergency, the term disaster emergency is defined under the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Services Code, and that's referenced in here. So it actually has, there's a state law that defines what constitutes a disaster emergency.
I can step in for a second, Mr. Orr. Generally, the way it would go is the mayor would declare an emergency that meets certain criteria, at which point emergency management's activated. He really, to my understanding, Isaiah can't get really involved until the mayor says, we got an emergency, here we go. But in the past, we've had elections at 10th Street School where they've segregated the public from children. So that would be an easy thing to get around. But I think the big thing is your question would start with the mayor. Isaiah would step in and say, here's the resources we're going to need. plans in place. Am I correct?
Um, So somehow they would keep the kids separate from people's house there.
Correct, and actually, the 10th Street, for example, they used to hire us. We weren't allowed in polling places due to the election law, but we could be out of sight, out of mind between the students and the public. So I would imagine if something happened like that during school hours, that was the resources that we would have to be to separate ourselves, the public from us. They do have the ability to separate the schools.
And just to specify, when a disaster is declared in our borough, we can have it be a designated like the mayor, but reflecting on the emergency code, it's really council that has to have a quorum and then go ahead and declare that.
And I
So
believe.
we have some emergency meeting or something.
Well, typically what happens is the mayor, and I looked into this issue when the storms hit in April, and it's up to the mayor to declare a disaster emergency. And then council there's a certain time frame, I can't recall off the top of my head, but essentially council then has to vote to ratify the declaration of emergency. So, and then if they don't, it's effectively powerless. So in the event that an emergency strikes, we have 3 tornado, the mayor could declare an emergency, we could have an emergency session, and there's relaxed requirements under the Sunshine Act when there's an emergency.
And there would be at times, there could easily be declared at 6 o'clock one evening and our vote might not be till the next day
Right.
or the following
And
day.
I wanna say it's, I think it is within 70, it's a short time frame. I think it's 72 hours or so that council has to convene. This is also one of those agreements that you wanna have it in writing. The chances are, hopefully, you never have to actually shelter residents and visitors at the school. I mean, for as terrible as the weather can be in Western Pennsylvania, we are largely shielded from the disaster events that take place in other regions of the country, so it's good to have in writing. I think that this is sufficient to, you're not gonna cover every single scenario in writing. If a storm happens at 9 AM, there has to be a little flexibility. All this talks about is that the borough is allowed to use the school as a shelter if it needs to.
Would council have to convene in person, or could we do this chain or something?
But again, I would have to look into it. Typically, the rule under the Sunshine Act is that you have to be able to, you can participate in person or remotely. As long as, for instance, with Jamie being present tonight via Zoom, you're able to, as long as you're able to hear and speak and participate in the meeting, you're allowed to participate remotely. With respect to whether it can be done by email, that's just something I would have to look into. Hopefully, I never know the answer to that. So, but if I have to know, I'll look into that.
Okay, great, thank you.
And any questions for Jane? Next up, we have Rocket, the Youth Representatives Report.
Yeah, so I'll start with the mural project that's been going on. We finally got final drafts on what the students want to paint on it, so that's in. They're currently just assembling a list of the supplies they need to paint it, and hopefully we can get that soon. Start painting. To mention.
Can I interrupt you? The
Yeah, you're
mural
good.
project is for the container that's located on Ann Street in the street department's salt yard. We have a container that is storing recycle bins and yard waste bins, and it's just law. But with these murals, it should be a destination.
Yeah.
So there's no painting happening on the cardboard or the glass recycling?
Just on.
Right.
Just
on
a
the
shipping
other one.
container.
Right, okay.
And then I know we mentioned the library renovations earlier in the meeting. On September 17th, there's going to be a meeting that is with the library. They want to attract some students from the school, see if they can, when the space is renovated, see if they can make a space that maybe does something that the students want, so maybe a study space or something else. So they got a meeting just to get some ideas on
that.
So that'd be for the older students, for like high school.
Yeah, high
High
schoolers,
school
junior
rather
high.
than little.
Yeah. And then, so earlier this summer, me and another review student, Grace Johnson, we started a food drive fundraiser. We're working with the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank. And we had a stand at the street fair at the open farmers market. And we have an event scheduled on August 24th at the library that should be hopefully fundraise some money. We're looking to do maybe some raffles or some other ways to fundraise money. And hopefully that goes well. We're looking at starting to promote that event probably.
Anybody have any questions for Ron?
Send me anything.
Appreciate it.
Next up is the assistant borough manager report. We interviewed 2 parks seasonal employees, and unfortunately, one of the people that we interviewed accepted another position. He was the one that was going to work full-time. So we're still looking for parks crew. And then the second person that can work the morning shift, he has another job at a factory, so he's able to work a few hours in the morning. It'll give John a little bit of help because the high school students that are high school and college students that are currently working in the parks, they'll be going back to school sometime soon. So we'll be down to 2-man crew again. And the administrative assistants are busy preparing for our employee appreciation picnic, which is going to be held on Tuesday, August 26th at Riverside Park from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m.
And you're cooking.
Scott is the chef, but I will have my eye on him. Yeah, he will be doing the hamburgers and the grill. He'll be working the grill. And under sustainability, we had our 4th annual Hard to Recycle event, and we had to keep expanding the hours because so many people showed up. We originally slotted for 48 people, but we actually got 230 people to go through the Hard to Recycle event. So I'm looking forward to seeing how many pounds of hard to recycle materials we collected. Then the Dark Color Woods Committee, we partnered with the Audubon Society of Western Pennsylvania. We did a bird walk, and that was back in July. We reached the maximum capacity of 20 people for that walk. After the walk, there was a survey that was conducted, and 99% of the people rated the walk highly successful with high satisfaction. So we are going to have another walk on August 14th, which is Thursday, and we're meeting at the Pennsylvania Avenue entrance of Dark Color Woods. It's a tree identification and biodiversity walk, and we only have a few spots left. I believe there's 4 spots left for that walk. So if anyone's interested, let me know and I'll be happy to sign you up. And I want to thank Isaiah Wilson and Chief Joe Flanagan for attending the Connect meeting that was Oakmont hosted at the Oakmont Carnegie Library. They talked about the lack of volunteerism and their respective roles and how difficult it is to get a generation of volunteers to actually help with emergency management and volunteer for the fire department. So a huge thank you for helping out and showing up for representatives of Oakland. Thank you. And the code enforcement report is attached. Unfortunately, we're having issues with the magistrate, and Jake Scott mentioned that he's going to talk to you. We have pictures of a lady feeding deer, and that case got dismissed. So most of the cases that are going before the magistrate are extended, and the extension period is very long time, like until December or so, or the case is being dismissed, or they're not applying a fee for the violation. So for example, feeding wildlife, the violation is $600. That case got dismissed when we clearly know that that person was feeding deer. So he said he was going to talk to you separately about that one. And
In that particular case, we can provide documentation that the person was notified a number of times ahead of time about the key.
and we have pictures of the deer at the Salt Lick, and it's not like that the magistrate is dismissing those cases when we actually have proof that people are feeding the deer.
Magistrates are notoriously constituent friendly.
So we see.
They like to, it's an elected position, so it's a, like that I hear in all of my municipalities, so I'll work with Scott to see if there's anything.
And there's a lot of administrative issues that I've done. If anyone has any questions about anything, please let me know. And that's all that I have for my report.
And then the code enforcement, it's just moving along as you.
Yeah, there's nothing really that's standing out for the code enforcement report. There's a couple of house numbers that have been identified that people need to put up, and high grass and the garages in disrepair. The street department report is attached. If anyone has questions, Scott will be back on Monday. You can check with him. And as far as the borough manager's report, he's reaching out to CEA to discuss the Cheers Bar cleanup. There's a lack of movement on that property, and we're going to discuss with CEA what measures can be put in place for them to clean that bar up. Under community planning.
Back one. The school district is asking for light at night. For the 3-night for the fall sports event, and that's the normal thing we requested in the past. And we will just vote on that.
Yes, that's an annual request that they have. And under community planning, David and Brianna Hawkins, submission for planning commission review and possible recommendation to Borough Council of a conditional use approval for a proposed home occupation, which is located at 129 First Street, situated in the MXD zoning district. The public hearing for conditional use is scheduled for August 19, which is the regular meeting at 7 p.m. And Jake, do you have anything to add to that?
I do not, I will note that, well, I guess I do then. Planning Commission reviewed, the conditional use application and recommended approval to council subject to 3 conditions. So we will discuss all of that during the public hearing on the record at the regular meeting.
Brianna is.
You got a correspondence, right?
Yes, I will note that correspondence was received. I know, and if you didn't see, correspondence received from a neighbor expressing some concerns. I will note that typically, obviously, the purpose of a workshop meeting is to discuss agenda items so that the council can more easily take action at its voting meeting with respect to conditional use applications. It's done a little differently under the MPC. Any council discussion or deliberation has to be done at the public hearing on the record. So we can acknowledge that the correspondence was received tonight, but we are not in a position tonight to further discuss it.
Can we just, let me just say one thing, yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but can we notify the person who sent the correspondence in that they like have to be in person or something at the hearing?
My understanding is that Scott notified the sender of the date of the hearing and told him to comment if he wants to express concern.
And so Brianna, we thought, our understanding that there would be more of a discussion this evening, but it is actually that discussion has to wait for 2 weeks.
Correct.
So I know you've sat here through this whole meeting waiting to make a comment, but, because it is a hearing, we do have to wait, and I'm sorry that we didn't realize that until today, to let you know.
Okay, so I'm not able to say anything this evening.
I
No.
mean, I
No,
would prefer any comment, and the reason why I prefer to have any comment is obviously there has been opposition, or at least concerns expressed by certain neighbors. So at the public hearing on the 19th, there will be a court reporter present. So all discussion will be reflected on the record. So that way, if any party is aggrieved by the decision of council with respect to the conditional use application, all deliberation and discussion will be clearly reflected on the record. So it just makes it a neater process from council's perspective.
And the paperwork that was at planning commission has been circulated and included in everybody's packets. So everybody on council is aware of, what occurred at the planning commission. So, we're coming into this with some knowledge. So, continue to have a good vacation. Sorry to have, we didn't really realize this until this afternoon that there was a kind of misunderstanding here.
okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Birdtown.
So in your packet,
I'm sorry. So this hearing will be advertised.
Correct, and Scott has already ensured that it's properly advertised and noticed.
Okay, and then we will have a court reporter, and then anybody from the public that wishes to come and make comments
Yes.
will be welcomed.
Sorry, I just wish that we would have said that to her at the beginning, because I feel like it was really rude to like we could see her and we could anticipate that she was here to say something, so I feel like that was like a misstep on our part.
Yeah. Well, it was, but that's my misstep, and I didn't realize she was there for a while until we got partway through, so, yes, it was unfortunate, I agree. Oh, I'm sorry. Put it back.
I read in the most recent edition of the Borough News that municipalities can also receive designation as a B town. BEE
Okay.
town. Not some kind of a rating, like, oh, we're gonna rate this town big.
Okay.
No, a pollinator town.
Yeah.
So we could do, I don't want to be tacky, birds and bees.
in Northern Woods, we're looking to install a 20,000-foot pollinator garden. And it is going to be a Penn State Master Gardener garden, which will attract bees. So I don't know if the two would conflict, or if the Penn State Master Gardener designation would suffice for pollinators for bees.
So what, John? That's a really good question, I don't know.
Are we to appoint someone? But there was some discussion of,
There's a 3-person committee that is needed for the Birdtown resolution. And one of our council members so graciously volunteered to be one of the committee members. I think it should be open to members of the community. There's a resident that reached out to me to connect with the Audubon Society to get the bird walk done when we did it last month. So I'm quite sure that there was 1 or 2 other community members that would like to be a part of that committee. So I think we could open it up to the community, and I can act as the borough liaison for the Birdtown. We have Jamie, if you're still willing to be the council representative for the Borough Town designation.
That'd be great. So maybe you could follow, maybe we could appoint those other two people, or all three, at our next meeting.
Okay, I'll go check. Next, we have the VOC public meeting that was hosted by Borough on July 29th discussion.
And I think John and Amanda are the two people from council that attended. Do you want to talk?
I'll give credit where credit's due. John spoke on our behalf. And I think did a really nice job voicing our concerns about the stoplight, and the trail and some of the traffic, and it seemed to be very well received. So
People heard you.
yeah.
Good.
I was just gonna add that. Based on the Q&A session after people spoke, it appears that there's really, it appears that the reason it was the final meeting is that Trans Systems is out of money. And any realistic, any real implementation of the trail system is years away.
Yeah, I think that was.
They seem to have run through their grant money.
But I think it was good that we did the letter, we put it online, we, made a formal statement about our concerns. And then that you two went and that you were able to voice it and enforce that, so.
And some of those concerns are shared by at least our own. So.
Okay. Good. Finance. Included in your packets were the audit report for information from the Allegheny County Tax Collection Committee, which is for the earned income tax collector, and their annual audit. There was no issues in that audit, and it was all accepted as filed. But it's there with the information just to let you know. The warrant list and the budget report are included. And the staff has started the initial outline of the capital improvement budget and annual budget for this coming year. And our goal is to get this out earlier and, by November, have reached the point that we may not vote on it in November, but be sitting with our proposed budget in front of us. And then it's possible the actual vote may be in December, but we want it upfront and earlier. And so Scott's working on trying to get it out earlier. Yes, John?
I had a question from one of my constituents, actually several, about the budget meetings. Are they public meetings or they?
Yes, they're scheduled and advertised public meetings, but we have been having them separately on the off weeks so that we can spend an hour doing that. And it's still public though. It is definitely public.
For some reason, they didn't seem to feel that it's adequate numbers or something.
Well, I know.
Maybe they just don't know where to look or something.
Yeah. Well, you can tell when the time comes, you can make sure you convey that. Yeah, because it should be public. And they're also working on looking at this budget that we are now operating under, and we've had some additional expenses, and I was hoping we could talk about that this evening, but Scott's not here, and we won't. We'll wait until we're off here. And but we have some overages on our budget this year due to the storms and all the tree work that had to be done, and our legal fees are above our anticipated budget, and then a few other items. So we just want to take a moment during this year to just sort of point those out and see how we're handling that. Okay, public safety. This is Mike and Isaiah's.
I can start just a couple of things tonight. thank the street department again for all the help with the street fair, the street sale. Sergeant Turpin, thank him for myself, we're down there. It was other hot, humid, it was a great day. Just unpeeling now after finding the sunscreen. But I think it went very well, and there was a lot of people for the amount of heat there was there. So that was well. This past Monday, just to give council, we had talked about in the past about cameras, and we had a comprehensive meeting with Zycom, a company that's a very large company, so they're putting together a perspective just for council to look at. The good thing is it's gonna be a modular thing. If we get grants, but we cover the borough building. I went down with Zycom, Park with John, and took them through Creekside, Riverview. We're looking at probably at least 14 more cameras throughout the town. License plate readers that, you know, this would be a whole plan. Then when he was finished there, he went to the library, to sit down with them to figure out where they would want. So this will be one big proposal they'll put together. Essentially, cameras are obsolete every 6 months. Ours are almost 9 years old now, here. The park is what my main concern was, which he addressed a lot of those issues and technology. I think a lot of things can be accomplished now that couldn't. We have good cooperation with the school, connectivity. So it was a very good meeting. We spent about 2 hours with them. And I think generally if we can at least piecemeal this together throughout the next several years, I think it would be a very beneficial thing.
Do you think those cameras would significantly reduce the amount of vandalism in the parks?
It may not reduce it as much, but it will give us some more time. It would, new cameras actually, they have IR on them now, which wouldn't bother the neighbors. Which cameras can see, but you can't see the light. So that's something that works very well. We have them now, but they go out a good distance. But these new cameras are phenomenal.
Have we had a lot of cameras?
Mainly it's to the bathrooms inside, which doesn't, all we can do is say, hey, this person went in. There's 15 people that went in before we noticed them, so that's our issue. Most of the vandalism occurs inside the bathroom, which unfortunately can't put cameras. But that was a very good meeting. There's 2 officers I'll have you ratify the hire that we fired. Well, the other officer, one had worked here prior, he's a full-time officer elsewhere, and a retired officer. Just pick up some shifts. Very good pickups in my opinion for us. So Isaiah may have some other questions. I saw something that I wasn't aware of about school guards. Those questions I would be happy to answer, whatever those questions were.
Les had come in a month or so and said that there would be a little bit of shortage on crossing guards, and just wanted to see, circle back to what this staffing level looks like for the school year.
I can tell you right now it's good, and 2 months from now it may not be. That's a hard position to fill. I'd ask the counselor, Scott, to put out another advertisement if anybody knows anybody looking, especially for filling. We need them constantly. They go through training every summer. I actually have a meeting next Monday, the 11th, with them. We supply everything. It's a cooperative effort with the school. They split 50% of the costs. I think also it was brought up by one of the guards today. I think when Mr. Leisure brought up the council to consider paying, I think it was 5 holidays a season, which I guess would have to be approved by the school district as well. Personally, I think that would be a good gesture since they're out all the elements and everything else. It's a minuscule cost, in my opinion, for what they do for Borough. But right now, I can tell you, entering the school year, but I lost 3 guards at the end last year. They're all back now, but we had to cover. So there's times that we cannot cover as police. If we get called away, we can't cover. So the ones we do cover are generally the elementary school. In my opinion, 6 through 12 should be able to handle if need be getting to the high school.
Let's also express some concern about public abuse of the guards.
Oh, that's true. So they're gonna get yelled at. They get yelled at. They have thick skin, which I give them all credit because people don't like it. They drive around us with the lights on, with a barricade that says "Do not enter." In a marked police car with a marked in uniform. So I can't have enough respect for what our guards do, and most of them are very. They just I give them because they're very. So I respect to what they do in the weather conditions. But if anybody knows anybody, we're always trying to hire alternates. And generally what we do is we move them up in the more shifts when people leave or need a leave of absence. Does that pretty much answer that?
And then, just on the safety end of it, I know the city of Pittsburgh supplies some of their crossing guards at this intersection with radios. Are there anything that our local, our neighboring municipalities do on the safety side?
It's just what we're doing with the safety vests, the training. We supply all their safety equipment, hats, vests, rain vests. So we provide them. I'll have something to discuss in executive session. It's personal. Other than that, I have nothing else.
Do you have anything, one of the things that the youth raised was about the fire alarms.
Yes, I guess it's maybe more of a, well, I guess the enforcement comes from the police department or from Borough. I just wanted to see what the enforcement was, I guess, more stock of those alarms that come in for into the ordinance. I know that, are we giving out warnings for, first time false alarms, and are we actually following back up with actually fighting people for false alarms?
Yeah, I can't see.
I can't, not on my end of the fire department, that would be the fire department sending it into the police department.
Okay.
And then we, with our alarms, most of them, we get called off at the time too. You have to keep very good records in that, because if you get called off, still respond, that's not a response, because they did by ordinance by calling people off. So it's but no, I can't tell you. I think Presby Holmes warned physically once. Yeah, I think actually Chief Lanning warned them, sent them a letter of notification. Presbyterian Home. And I believe there's one other business that they're going on, which is 8th year, 140 Pennsylvania. That was half of it was vacant, but the alarm kept going off the waterfront. Those are the two I can tell you off the top of my head, I think, written warnings issued.
I know that with the Presby, I believe that the request was sent in, but I don't know if it actually got sent out, especially since after that we kept getting alarms. So did we go ahead and continue to enforce the ordinance?
That would be a fire alarm, because I don't handle that.
Yeah.
And you did get a copy, I think we left, Scott left a copy in the desk server, so it just didn't quite get in the packet.
Yeah.
But at least you can see what we do have on the books right now as an ordinance.
Just to put it in perspective, the month of July, to the Presby home, we got about 7 calls there.
We got 7 calls from
Presby home. And I believe last year we had over 20.
These were false alarm.
Yeah. It ranges to where they're testing the system and they just fail to tell their alarm company that they're testing and not sound alerts to a resident pulling it, which still under the ordinance, still a violation of it. It is, not fire. There's a range of false alarms there, but it is a nuisance.
Well, just keep it on your radar and bring it back up if you see it getting worse.
So next we have Public Works. F1 and F2 is related to the brick spot repair. Sean, would you like to speak on that behalf?
So this is as we talked before, breaking close out there. So we did 2 pay requests just because of when they came in. And then change order 1, just adjust the quantities, which is our normal closeout change order. So these will be 2 motions to effectively close this one.
And for the volunteer fire department sidewalk and apron replacement project.
Same thing really, so final payment of 3, and And change orders 1 and 2, so change order 2 is the final closeout change order. We just talked about it, zeros everything out. Change order 1 was actually issued last fall, for the winter shutdown. It extended the time, they just never signed it, so this is really cleanup, as part of this.
And there's like a strip of sand that is, I believe, after they repaired the brick. When is that gonna go away? Or does it go away? Or does it settle in?
In the road. So,
So this much off the curb, go all the way down, you know, it's been a little good bit of time, and the sand's still kind of
yeah, and it was saying to fill the voids between the brick, and they put it back. So that's supposed to be, on the way out, I'll walk back.
The 2025 road program.
Yep, and it's just schedule we talked about earlier, and this says, which was represented to us, end of August, I think practically means September is a reasonable expectation.
Everybody will be glad.
Yes.
And all of us on council will be glad that we don't have to say, yes, it's still going to.
Yeah.
It will be fixed, it will be fixed. Okay, so, as we've been doing the last couple of months, the Wednesday before the next meeting, if you have something to add to the agenda, let Scott know. And, we have no public today to make comments. So we have that, so I, will take, a motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. That one may move, and I say vote second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, we have a very long.
Sean, when did the warrant was announced? I was looking on the website, and there's like literally nothing there.
Yeah, that was the funny, really, say right now. Never rains. Say that those are like springtime woods. Yeah, it's usually, they're both like, so we're doing June. Let me look and see if I can find with the previous round. I'll send that over.
No rush.
Yeah, I would say probably after the first. And I guess.
Have a nice night. Good night.
Good night,
Good
guys.
night. Good lunch.
Let's see.
Okay. All right, guys. Mr. Lord. What? Oh, wait, we have to depart.
Phyllis, if you want to close the whole thing out, I'll just call Amanda.
Okay, thank you.